Hey guys, I want to welcome you to Life Groups this evening. When you're out in the woods, when you're hunting, one of the most important pieces of equipment that you have is your camouflage. You want to wear camouflage that matches your surroundings so that you can kind of just blend in. You don't want to be noticed. The better your hid, the better your hunts are most of the time. I want to read a passage of scripture to you out of the book of Romans. It's a passage of scripture where Paul just simply says, he says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it's the power of God for salvation for all who will believe. You know, Paul says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. The reason he said he's not ashamed is because Paul was going to take a story. The gospel is the story of Jesus Christ. He was going to take this story to the mighty Roman Empire. The story, the gospel story, is about a Jewish carpenter's son who was a convicted criminal who was ultimately crucified, the most shameful death, the most shameful execution that could be handed down. Now, on the outside looking in, Paul going into the Roman Empire telling the story of a Jewish carpenter's son who was a convicted criminal who had been crucified, doesn't sound like much of a story. But Paul said, I'm not ashamed of that story because it's the power of God for salvation. Paul knew it was a powerful thing because it had changed his life. He knew it was a powerful thing because he had seen it change the lives of men and women and boys and girls throughout his ministry. So he knew it was a powerful thing. I think about camouflage. I think about blending in. I think about not wanting to be noticed. I put that together with Paul saying, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. And I start to realize that oftentimes I and you, we end up wanting to blend into our surroundings so much so that we sometimes will camouflage Jesus. We'll put camouflage on our faith so that other folks won't see it. Now, we're not out there advertently doing something wrong, but we just want to blend in. I want to ask you this afternoon, you just take a few minutes, pause the tape here in just a moment, but I want to ask you, do you ever find it difficult to share the story of Jesus? Why is it difficult? Do you feel shame? What is it that causes it to be difficult? Push pause and talk that over for just a few minutes.
Inside the mystery, oh, I am lost again. I am lost again. Inside the majesty, inside the mystery. God of creation, take my breath away.
To add to that now, I want you to pay attention to what Paul says. He says, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of the story because it's the power of God. I want you to take a couple minutes again and talk this over, but when you hear the name Jesus, what do you think about? You see, if you think of Jesus and you think of power, then I think we would be more apt to sharing. But does our society and has even church watered down who Jesus is to the point that when we think of Jesus, we think of gentleness and kindness and meekness, and He is all of those things. But has that diluted the way that we really view Him? Do you see Jesus as powerful, or do you see Him as meek and lowly? What do you think of when you think of Jesus? Pause it, talk that over. You guys have a great afternoon.